Jesse Ventura Street.
You liked it.
Shane walked in with his bags and said, "Hey man, how about at the end of my match, when I'm wrestling Mike, you jump off the top of that trailer and put me through a table?" And he just stopped with his bags and paused for like 2 seconds. He said, "Sure." So we had Shane in the group. He was known as like the amateur wrestling hooker slash shooter slash asshole. And then we had Marty Garner in Champaign, who was the head sucker. Remember that terminology?
Mm-hmm.
Because he would get hot and he would just punch somebody if he got upset. I remember Jeff got out of the car and stepped in a pothole, and it was in the middle of the winter, and it was like 8 inches deep of water, and Jeff stood in the pothole, and he was so miserable, like he didn't even get out. Like he just sat in it like he was cold, and he put his feet in the water, and he was just like,
he just stood in the fucking hole.
and he didn't get out, and it was like free. It was 15 degrees outside, like he was gonna get pneumonia, and he sat in the pothole until we like actually physically moved him. He was just so miserable. And we found out later that day after we got in, Shannon got there, and it was like 7:45, 7:50. School started at 8 o'clock. He lived 8 minutes from the school. He got in, went to his room to change clothes, went to bed, slept all day, fell for the year at this point. And he called like 1:30 in the morning. He was obliterated. He's like, "Yo! Oh my God, I just saw this match. It's amazing. I'm going to bring you in. I'm going to talk to Paul. I'm going to do this." We started WWF before. We were under contract before Shane and Shannon were under contract with WCW. Careers paralleled. We went to WWE and they went to WCW, and maybe we can do a 3-count versus Hardy Boys thing somewhere down the line. Some guys was like, "No, I was Captain Hot Shit at WCW. I'm going to do my thing." And that's where there was a big, conflict. Even like DDP, I love him to death. I know he just had kind of his own way of doing things at first, and he had a big issue with The Undertaker, and they were working. I know Taker would get real frustrated.
I had the attitude that I knew WWF was the spot, like WCW. I really didn't foresee it being its own entity for any amount of time.
I thought he was the most brilliant man alive, and there's been times where I'm like, I just want to choke him because he would, be asking us to do something that I completely hated. But, it is what it is in this business, and you can't take it personal. And as far as the actual person of Vince McMahon, I don't think many people that work for him really get to know that guy.
Anytime I ever had to talk to Vince, if I had to go with him with a problem, I would just watch him during the day. If he's in a good mood, okay, we're going to have that talk. If he's pissed off, I don't care what the problem is. That shit can wait till next week.
When the Attitude Era came through, and even ECW was so hot, WCW, everything was so cutting edge and controversial, and just even more adult oriented. And wrestling had never been through that period at that time. And eventually, that kind of plays out, and it's time to move to the next thing. I mean, society in general was a much edgier society, in that time period. I mean, a lot of guys were so shocked when Eric Bischoff showed up there. This guy tried to put Vince out of business, and Vince just saw it as an opportunity to use him to try and make money. And I know deep down Vince was like, "Oh yeah, but he's going to be my bitch right now for a little bit too." That had to be part of the deal and setting it all up. But one time where I messed up with Taker and I did something that was unprofessional, I shouldn't have, and he chewed my ass out. And looking back, he should have, and I totally deserve that.
How about the Rock? Do you guys consider
hate that motherfucker?
Do you guys consider him one of the boys?
I do. I consider Rock the most successful professional wrestler there is, because to be able to parlay professional wrestling career from the WWE to becoming a legitimate, extremely talented mega movie star, I have nothing but props for him. The physical wear and tear of wrestling. I mean, your body, flesh and bones aren't made to slam into wood and steel, much less 25, 30 times a night, 270, 280 times a year, especially with that travel across the globe. It's a tough, demanding lifestyle. And then you factor in the stress and the pressure and everything else that comes with it.
You guys want to share some good Chris Jericho stories?
He is the worst cab partner ever.
Was the man Matthew Hardy. Said, "No, it wasn't him at all." And they said, "Well, who hit you exactly?" He said, "It was," and he was like looking at the wrestling magazine, and he said, "It was Mark Laurinaitis. He hit me." And they said, "Sorry, sir, you're lying. We were outside the club when you left there. We know there were only 3 individuals in the car. We're going to have to put the cuffs on you." Anyway, I was just going to say, they said too that Shane, whenever he came back, he held up his hand and said, "I surrender." Did you say that?
No. Motherfuckers put out their guns. And I said, "Ooh."
That's when he held up his hands. He said, "Let him go. It was me." And they were like, "No, he's already lied. And we're both taking you down." And it's something a lot of people don't know is I went back to the hotel. I caught a cab and went back to the hotel, and I was going to go bail him out. And you guys are called Christian, right?
I don't know who the fuck called Christian.
Somebody called Christian, I think, or
We didn't even know we were arrested.
But
We were like, what the? We're signing autographs and taking pictures with his car. The whole thing was the cab driver got scared.
right.
That's the hunter too. You know, he's only in this position because he's with Stephanie. And whether that's true or not, when he's in the ring, he performs, and he's fucking good.
Paul's like, these are the times where we need WCW, because if WCW is still up and running right now, Matt, you should quit and go to WCW because they don't appreciate or recognize your talent. I'll make sure something else happens. And speaking of that, I thought Michael Hayes was pretty good.
Yeah.
No, I mean he did.
If you're a Hardy boy and Michael Hayes is writing.
Yeah, I mean Michael, knew who we were, and he traveled with us, and he was really good at writing or providing, angles or stories for us to be in, And I was going to start almost acting black. That was going to be almost like a wigger, and Matitude.
A Mannequin American.
Yeah, I was going to be a Mannequin American. Unless you're in it and you've worked on the road full time and taken bumps, you can't truly have a grasp of how hard it is and what it takes to do it. Sophisticated and intellectual.
Is that the GM right there?
That's right. He probably has access to just about anybody. Come in for a couple weeks. Let's pop this crowd. The hottest thing they've done recently is leading up into that 1000th episode of Raw. When they were bringing out when Vader came out or Sid came out or whoever the fuck came out, that was awesome. And especially that 1000th episode, we didn't know who the fuck was going to come out, and like time flew for those episodes. He could be doing that every week. It could be a Hillbilly Jim, it could be a Coco Beware. It don't even matter. It doesn't have to be somebody that was a 15-time world champion. It could be anybody. He has access to the world, and they would come and do it. But they really seem we got to use just these guys, and some of those guys aren't ready to be there, and that's the cold hard truth.
Yeah.
Who are some of the guys that are not ready to be there?
I mean, this is hard. I got nothing against the guy personally, but he's got no business on TV.
That's why you see there's a big exodus of talent that has left over the last few years, and the reason why is because they became so controlling, where nothing else exists outside of the WWE universe. 3 hours every week of the same thing over and over of wrestling.
And then SmackDown is now the exact duplication of Raw. It's just a watered down Raw.
And I mean,
it used to at least have its own personality.
Yeah,
there was at least a different feel to Raw. Now SmackDown is just Raw light.
And the thing is, who cares? Like, say with
I care, Matt. I care.
But I'm just saying, like with the WWE, say you bring in, a Sami Callihan, or you bring in
merchandise is always, if you want to look at what's the draw, merchandise is always a key hint that somebody's a draw. If somebody's going to buy you a T-shirt, they're going to come see you. If they're going to buy you action figures, they're going to come see you. Punk sells a lot of fucking T-shirts.
Without a doubt.
You want him to go, if you want him to be the top guy over Cena, Punk fans, start buying more fucking T-shirts. I ain't going to say it's time to get somebody new, but I'm saying if he turned heel, if he would have turned heel at WrestleMania against Rock,
Yep.
that could have been an NWO Hogan moment.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
I think they missed a boat on that.
What was so good for Hogan, he was getting booed, when he went to WCW as a big babyface to begin with, and then when he turned heel and joined the NWO and changed up his persona. Too, man, it's just like how I said that before. Like, you can't insult the wrestling fans.
Right.
You can't act like Goldberg never happened, because he did. I hated the fact that he had such a great undefeated streak, and then a referee gave him a low blow, and then he got beat. And sure, you can screw someone or try and keep them strong, but I don't know if that's the way you want your guy getting beat, because I really think it could have did a big damage to all the momentum he had at that. Cesaro.
Yeah.
He's
Claudio or whatever.
Oh yeah, Claudio.
Yeah. He's really stood out as being good. He's been having great matches. I like his thing about speaking 5 different languages or whatever, and he's been like a solid performer.
Sandow, I like Sandow a lot. I like him a lot.
It's nice that he actually is getting an opportunity after all those, after all the different.
I like Cody's mustache. I like Cody's mustache better than I like Cody. Because he's in a Nazi killing business.
I think he's not that current. He's not that popular nowadays. And I think it's one of those things, if you took away Hogan and Bischoff, I think TNA would still be drawing the same rating and having the same quality show as well. It's not like you infused these guys in, and that's what made the show a lot better.
Decided a name for this?
H&H, Hunter, yeah. Hurricane and Hardy, H&H, or I don't know, we'll think of something.
Double H with 2/3 as good as Triple H.